foreign operators, they act like if they were in Harlem or things like that, and it ends up being very bad. There's actually several cases lately from Sweden where artists has came with their own personal protection operators, and there have been an incident in a bar, and then they actually end up with having the operator jailed. You can never really just be assured that because you are in this H.C. Anderson world that things doesn't go wrong. It does.
Welcome to the Circuit Magazine, the #1 source of information on protection matters, the industry-leading magazine for all security professionals who want to stay ahead of the game.
Working and succeeding in the Nordics as a protector. And today we are very, very pleased to welcome a big friend and proponent of the BBA, Claus Pichner, Director Alfa-Protect, a long-standing member of the community, all the way back when a number of Nordic close protection companies were founded. I'm sure those of you in the know will know which one I'm talking about. Claus has been a success story for the British Bodyguard Association and our community. And it's really exciting to look at operating in Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, and to a lesser extent, Finland. I'm here with Sean West. And, you know, it's exciting. People are traveling again, and people have renewed interest in concerts, in football tournaments. Lots happening in the Nordics this year. Where do you think we can go with this topic today?
Yeah, I'm quite interested to hear from Claus. He's an OG of the industry. He's been there a long time. I mean, he's been a long-standing member of the BBA, a long-time supporter. And it's always great to hear from people who've been in the industry a long, long time. I mean, when you talk with people of my era, UK side, when we talk when licensing coming, this guy has operated in the industry way before the SIA came into effect. And you know, you have some good stories from yesteryear. It's always good to hear from experience. So yeah, it'd be a cracking interview, I'm sure.
And of course, he's still living it. He's still working in it. And that I think is really, really special. Many people at some stage, you know, they go to becoming a consultant, or maybe they're going into, you know, teaching and training, but Claus is still living the dream. And you know, like, that is testament to the community that we still know him, because he's still really, really active.
Yeah, I think the close protection sector is one of them sectors that it can really grip you if you've been there a long time. It gets under your skin. It gets in under your nails. You don't want to let go. And you know, myself included, you know, you get a love for what you provide. And I think those who have been there a long time, it's hard to let go and, you know, move into something else. You kind, like I say, you live and breathe it. And Claus is certainly one of them people.
Indeed. And I certainly know of more Nordic traffic, more Nordic missions, and I'm sure that this will become really relevant to every one of our protector community coming up. Just as we did a very interesting segment on your next Swiss adventure before a certain World Economic Forum. I hope that was of interest to you. It certainly was eye-opening for me. I think this is the time to explore the Nordics. So thank you to Claus for supporting the community for so long. Let's get into it and learn about being a protector and having operational success in the Nordics.
And now, let's meet one of the contributors to the Circuit Magazine.
Operating in the Nordics as an EP professional, we are here with the one and only Claus Pichner. John Moss and myself, we are very pleased to have you on. You're a great friend of the industry, long-standing friend of a lot of people, and of course, a very active BBA and BBA Connect member. It's a pleasure to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine, Philip. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on board, and thank you for last time. Also, it was a pleasure always to visit the UK and the association. So thank you for that.
Fantastic. Yes. And of course, we saw each other in person very recently as well. So let's focus our minds. Let's think about operating in, quote unquote, the Nordics. What do you think people often get wrong? And what do you think people's preconceptions, misconceptions are around the quote unquote Nordics and operating therein?
I mean, operating in Nordics, when we are talking about Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and these countries, it's very different when it comes into the EP world, because actually to be able here to do this kind of work as executive protection, close protection wise, you need to have a lot of basic security background as a minimum. And that is, as of now in Denmark and Sweden, about 2 months intensive courses, 8 hours per day with an exam. And that is the basics you need to do. And after that, and there's no EP work or whatsoever, EP education or instruction or anything. After that, you need to go out and find someone who's actually capable of training you to do this job. And that's another thing. But it works a little bit different here in Denmark and in Sweden after the SIA actually dropped out of it with the Brexit. Because now, before there was a lot of European operators, international operators that came with the SIA license and was able to do something within here. Now it's really limited. It's extremely limited, and there's not so much to do but being an observer. When you arrive as a foreigner to do EP work or CP work in Denmark or Sweden, for that matter, Norway, it doesn't actually make any difference. You need to have certified and approved, educated close protection operators with you. You can do still, I would say, a lot of work because Denmark is visited a lot by high net worth individuals, because the Nordics are famous for gourmet travels and all these kind of things, and it's a center for many businesses, also for the medical industry. So there is really a lot. We have a lot of AMGs and things like. We have a lot of things going on in Denmark and Sweden that gives value to the work as an EP operator. However, you need to have in mind that if you come in the airport and you are gonna start there with your principal, at the second you walk out the door and want to start doing your EP and your CP work, you break the law unless you are together with Danish certified security operators. So that's a thing. However, what I do when I bring in other UK operators or other European operators is that many of them are specialists, as of myself. And many of them have really good skills, and some of them can maybe be very good for interview, for SAPs and all these kind of things. So they are allowed to do like that. But the problem, the line in the sand is being crossed when you are on the street doing actual security work. Okay. And if you end up in a situation where you need to react in a way that you have to be physical towards someone, you can really end up in trouble if you don't have certified staff with you.
Okay, well, that's great advice, and I think the same will be true for a lot of locations, without local support. But let's take a step back. Let's look at you. Let's think about your journey, your passion. You are one of the sort of founding fathers of EP in many respects. Tell us a bit about your journey and where your passion comes from.
No, but my journey is very long. We talk about the 36 years in this industry, and it started up actually as a K9 airbase military police officer, where I got my first protection team education because I was working with the Baltop airbase in Jutland, and there was a lot of NATO generals and others that came there, and I speak many languages, so they thought that this was a really good idea for me to join in on this. And my interest started because I found out that is really a given and extremely exciting environment to work in. You learn a lot about people. Of course, within the military, it was very different than in the civilian world. But however, it really gave me blood on the tooth to continue. So I actually, in my time off when I was not on duty, I educated myself in this field and got different kind of assignments. Started working with West Security, Christian West, that everyone know. I worked a lot with him, with AS Solution and things like that. Other security companies, Group 4 and so on in Denmark, doing some diplomatic security at the embassies and so on. So it was a very exciting time for me. And I found out very quickly that you can earn good money in this business privately, much more than if you are government employed. That's for sure. So I took actually a chance of going to the Philippines. And I worked over 3 different continents with this. And I worked almost 7 years in the Philippines for different companies over there and different CEOs. And that was probably one of the things that really, for me, moved a lot, because then I saw how extremely important this work is, especially when you are operating in countries where KNR and things like that is very, very normal in that way. Kidnap and ransom scenarios was not something that was unusual at all, even for small businessmen that have small hotels and things like that in the southern part of Philippines. Been several incidents of Norwegians who was for some reason at that time targeted very much, being caned, and many of them actually ended up beheaded somewhere in the Holo and Sulu area by the Abu Sayyaf, which was of course Al-Qaeda related terrorist group. So there was a lot of work to do there, and in good and bad. But I never really left this world. So when I came back, I was continuing to do work with people that I knew. I worked in Italy with a couple of very famous people there also. I worked many places in Europe, and many of these people still contact me. I just come home from a detail now in Italy here, actually yesterday. However, I'm going to be 56, so I'm in the end of my, how can I say, active standing post career. So what I'm doing a little bit more now is some kind of team administration, logistics. I'm instructing and teaching, doing all these kind of things, because this world, there's many people who is not in this industry don't understand that it's 99% administration and logistics and 1% action. And that administration and logistics is extremely important, because it's actually really what makes things work. So when I have students here that I often have from different places in Europe, Swedish, Norwegian, UK, many different that come here and wants to do intensive courses with me, they are surprised to see how much administrative work there actually is behind it. But when they have done it, they totally understand why. And they feel very prepared on doing the job, because that is essential to have success.
Perfect. No, that's a great tour de force around it, and I think training and reaching that apogee of your career will resonate with a lot of our listeners. And then our final sort of quick fire question, if I don't want to turn it into a soundbite, but a sort of a quick fire reflection before I go over to John. Let's say you are a first time operator in the Nordics. You've got your local partner already, so we haven't address that question, but you've got them and you're not going to get arrested, and you've left the airport, right? What should this first time operator who has the local partner sorted, so we don't worry about getting arrested, what should they understand that they perhaps don't understand?
They need to understand the environment that they're working in, because Denmark and Sweden, Norway is very different from the US in the way that the operators work. They need probably, I would say, the biggest advice to come a little bit before, or at least do some research about the country and the city that they are working in, understanding the crime areas and things like that. Because even we are very peaceful here in Denmark, we still have actually quite serious incidents, and especially in Malmö, which is the southern capital of Sweden, just close to Copenhagen, is actually, when you look on the amount of citizens in the city, the most criminal city in Europe. So that is a serious thing that you need to be aware of. But cooperating with the local teams are extremely important, and you have to have a very, very clear agreement with them about where is the line and what is the things that need to be done, and who is doing what and how. And then it can actually work extremely good. There's not allowed to work armed in Denmark unless you're government or police or military police. In Sweden, however, it is possible to have. There are special educated protection officers in Sweden that can do armed protection for certain individuals and certain environments. But it is not something that you probably run into as the first time. But do a lot of the background. I mean, if you're just educated as an EP, rolling around in a sandbox and shooting at targets, and things like that, you will probably find yourself in a very difficult situation working in this country, because there's so much of it. There's so much that is really into the planning and the preparation. And also, if you're going to transport a client here and you are not a Danish or a Swedish national with a professional driver's license, you also break the law. So there's many things here you need to be aware about. So if you are coming to Denmark, make sure you have arranged with a limousine service and things like that, where you have professional drivers that take care of it. They make the riders, possibly if it's a pickup in the airport, that they can have a rider going out on the runway, or if it's in the VIP areas in the Copenhagen airport. All these things have to be arranged that the drivers isn't there. And if it is not a limousine service, at least you have to make sure that the local contacts make this arrangement, because driving people in this type of work demands a professional driver's license. You are not a private person in the second that you're doing this. So you need to be aware about that. But also the demands of the law, we are very limited. I mean, actually, we are not as limited as you are in the UK, but we are still quite limited, and the need to report directly and observing only in many of these cases. However, if our principle is directly threatened, of course, you can interact is what is needed. But what is very important here is that there's never used more force than necessary. There has been cases where foreign operators, they act like if they were in Harlem or things like that, and it ends up being very bad. There's actually several cases lately from Sweden where artists has came with their own personal protection operators, and there have been an incident in a bar, and then they actually end up with having the operator jailed. It has happened several times here lately with some of the US rap scene people in Stockholm. So
there's a famous example, wasn't there? There was a famous rapper. There's several incidents about this, even where the president of the United States was calling the prime minister of Sweden and demanding to let him go, but he didn't. He just said, "But this is the thing, this man, he broke the law. That's it. That's it. He's just going to sit there until he learns about it." So you have to be careful, and you need to really lean up against the experience and the knowledge of the local security operator that you are working with here.
Claus, this is amazing. It's great to have you on the podcast. Finally, we've looked forward to this for so long, and already you've shared so much fantastic information with us. But I just want to, for our listeners, as you said, you've been in the industry a long time now. Was it 36 years?
Yeah, about 36 years, yes. From my very beginning as an airbase military police, K9, yes, 36 years.
So I'm wondering, what are the biggest changes that you've seen within the industry, both in the Nordics and generally, that you've seen in that time since you first came into the industry?
I mean, first of all, I would say that it's only positive to see that there is coming demands on education, and there's coming demands on clearance. I know that the CIA is working with a lot of, before also within the European industry authentication here works very good. You have to make sure that the people that is working actually have a clean background. Before, in time when I started, it was not unusual to see that the wrong type of people doing this type of work, and that is actually not something that is accepted at all anymore. So this is the good thing that is developed into like this. but also the need of executive protection and close protection is being more visible. I think that due to the terror in the world and how that has developed, being very much more present everywhere, the need and the understanding of protection in the industry of international trademarks and other people has become very visible. I mean, we are also doing not only executive protection and dignitary protection, we're also doing witness protection for private people that ends up, in the dispute with someone and has to go to trial. And the police have no possibility, only if it's like really, 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 really serious cases, have no possibility of protecting these people when they are going to testify. So we actually end up having a lot of these smaller but very sometimes quite hot topics in this. It can go very, very bad. So there are operators that almost full-time work with this. Domestic violence things, female abuse, women abuse, things like that. Even disputes in companies when someone split and go split up a company and they have dispute about the foundation and things like that. How it's going to be, it ends up in threatening, and it ends up in stalking, and it ends up in a lot of bad things, and eventually also a physical attack on one of the parties here. So there is an industry for that. You just need to kind of be aware about that. It demands a lot of work, and it demands a lot of you as a person, as a private, as an individual within your family, within your private life. You need to be very much aware about that as the young people here.
Picking up on what you were saying about the threats there, what for internationals, high net worths and so on who are traveling out to the Nordics, what are the biggest threats that they face? What are the threats that the operators need to be aware of?
But there's really no difference actually if you are in London, if you are in Copenhagen, or you are in Stockholm, because the threats that you are being exposed to is the same. They go with you, they travel with you. If they want to hurt you, and even if it's a domestic threat from UK that wants to hurt you, if that person is aware about where your client is moving and in what ways and how and when. This is also again why it's so extremely important to keep all this information away from social media, away from all these platforms, so you can protect the client the best ways. It comes to you. It's not like if you go to Copenhagen, the city of the mermaid and things like that now there's no threat here. It comes to you. You can never really just be assured that because you are in this H.C. Andersen world that things doesn't go wrong. It does. And the reason probably why there hasn't been so much about it is because the operators that work here are quite skilled. They are very, very well prepared and well educated. There's not that many young guys that wants to enter this business because the demands even for the basic guard school is 2 months of 8 hours every day, and they're just thinking like, why do we need to learn all this? But it is actually to make sure that you don't end up in trouble and that you are prepared to deal with even, what we kind of call like small, basic things that you need to take care of. But I think that honestly, if you as an operator think that the threat is not here and it's not coming to you, you're wrong. I choose to believe that the reason why I haven't had any serious incidents with any of my principals or in any of my details is because we have been prepared to do the work correctly and have been very vigilant about everything. And this is the reason why nothing has happened. Because we see many times, also with people that go to countries where things is not as controlled as it is here, then that's where it goes wrong. But terror works internationally. I mean, kidnapping someone in the middle of Copenhagen is probably not, very likely, because it is just like London. Everything is very surveillanced and very secure in that way. But there can be different kind of threats to the client that can pose harm. So,
but Claus, could you maybe give us another type of flavor from the Nordics? In that, what about ultra high net worth clients from the Nordics? Are they like in other countries, maybe Germany? Do they prefer a very low profile and therefore no security or covert security? Is that something? Because I know definitely in Switzerland it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really depends on the client, because there's also many clients that like the visible protection, and we always really advise against that, because it just brings far too much attention to the profile, and but some of them for some reason like it, and when they are out, that the operators are very visible, and in sometimes it can be positive also to be in that way. If you are in a nightclub and things like that, people can see that they cannot just go and address the principal. But in general, we always kind of try to be the gray man. This is where it's most appropriate. Covert protection teams is a very, very, very good idea in these environments to have as a backup. And we also, unfortunately, have many that wants to have close protection operators for other reasons than they just want to, and we always say no to that. They just want to seem important, even though they are very wealthy and they don't even have a threat. So the how can I say, the interview with the clients are very, very crucial in this. Finding out, do they actually really have a confirmed threat? Is there something in their life that needs this? Otherwise, don't take the job. I mean, there have to be something, but there are many, and it's a waste of time to sit and talk to these people who just want someone to be there by the table in the nightclub and looking sharp. Unfortunately, this business has a lot of these people, and you just have to sort them out quickly and say thank you, but no thank you.
Klaus, given the necessity for international parties needing to work with local partners when they travel to the Nordics, what advice would you have to our listeners for vetting, for finding those local partners and ensuring that you're working with the right caliber of service?
The police have a list of authorized security companies. And also, if you search, of course, on the internet, you can find a lot of these companies that is offering close protection. Don't necessarily take the first one on the list, but find out if they have some kind of background that gives them the knowledge to do this type of work. Ask how long that they have been doing it, and maybe even ask for some kind of, not many will give names on clients, things like that. That's understandable, but it's also misused in some way. So I cannot say who I work with because it's confidential. Yeah, but if there's a photo in the middle of the newspaper that you are standing with a high net worth individual or dignitary or something like that, then that's not that secret anymore, because then you can at least give that as a reference. But trying to find someone who has a little bit of a background in this field, and of course is having an authorization to do security work in Denmark. And the companies that I work with is all companies that has this. And it is really, really important. But the police have a list about it. It's also available on the politi.dk, where you can find the list of the authorized security agencies. But take a little time, contacting them first, finding out who they are, what they are doing, how long time the company has been operating, and all these kind of things, because it is a wannabe business. And you know that, John, it's and there's many that just, say, oh, we are doing close protection, and have absolutely no idea about what it is and what it takes to achieve it, and just offer it. And that is the people that, of course, even in this world, that we have to avoid.
And in terms of coming into the country or the countries, the Nordic countries, what should international operators be aware of in addition to the operational environment, but in terms of custom, language, levels of respect, the laws that you already touched on? What are the main things that operators should be considering?
But it is exactly the same as everywhere else in the world. I mean, when I was working in Asia, I had to be very much aware about local customs, things like that. In Japan, it's very, very serious that if you do this, if you're offending someone, it can really end your career. And in Asia, many of these things is extremely important. But even also in Nordics and in Europe, you need to understand the country that you are in. You need to understand the population of the area that you are working in, if it's a majority of some kind of people, and where you're operating, and also the person that you are, of course, is working with. If there's someone that can or somehow a problem that is affiliated with the principal as a person, you need to be aware how is that dealt with in the country that you arrive. But I have to say that within the organization, because in BBA and in NABA, there are so many operators around the world. It's really an international community. Reach out, and ask them about this if there's any questions. And they are always very, very, very welcome to contact me, and I will be as helpful as I possibly can with this, because I will always welcome anyone who wants my assistance here, or need my assistance for that matter anywhere else. But I just think it actually goes for the same in the Nordics, Jon, as anywhere else in the world. You need to be very much aware about what is this country and what's going on, and what is the recent things that has happened, and all these kind of things. You need to do your work, and you need to look into it. You need to do all your planning and preparations, really, to make sure that things run. But take note of searching operators by country, and find out again who is there to help you when you arrive, because I'm very sure that within the Brotherhood that there are people that can assist and will assist very quickly.
And Claus, you mentioned very kindly, that you're active in the BBA community and the BBA Connect app. I know we're focused on the Nordics for this episode, but I thought it's too good an opportunity not to ask, how has that experience been for you? And what would you say to others that have not yet downloaded the BBA Connect app and joined in on all the fun?
I would say that's definitely a very, very good idea to join in. This is, for me, it is quite new. I'm an old wolf in this, so it's for me with all these apps and the platforms and things like that. I've been extremely closed. I've been living with protected address for 20 years, and I've never been exposed to wherever I am and what I do. I always had like a cover, something for what I've been many different things when I did this job, because I didn't want people to follow me around or whatever I did, and it's been quite fun also. However, now in this modern world with all this social media and the social platforms, it can be a positive thing. It can be a beneficial thing, but you also need to be aware that there can be a disadvantage with this. However, I know that within the community, people think about wedding. At least it is like that with the BBA and the NABA, that people who's not really entitled to be there, they don't enroll. So that's important that we are using that. But it's very, very useful tool, and you get an idea about who they are, the people, but also be a little bit. Don't believe everything you write. Everything you read. People have an idea about living in a fantasy world in this industry, so put a little bit question mark to some of it, at least. That would probably help you. But I know that very big and very high percentage of the members of the association is really good people always.
Great, absolutely. Well, I thought too good an opportunity not to ask, seeing as you are such a prolific member and supporter, and you just happen to find yourself in the Nordics, which we're asking about as well. So this is really good fun. I'm pleased to have you on board. I know we met up recently, and you very kindly come to the UK quite often.
Yeah.
So I think absolutely people are going to want to reach out to you as you travel. But yeah, I really enjoyed this.
What I just want to say is, if you're listening to this and you have traveled to the Nordics, or indeed that you're maybe sat on the sidelines, you listen to our podcast, but you're not within either the community, the BBA, or any community, then, consider joining a community, consider reaching out to Claus, because he is a shining example of both what you can get out of a community when you put in, or rather what you can get out and put in. And and Claus has been such a breath of fresh air and always willing to help and give advice. And I think being able to connect with somebody like that can only be a plus and an advantage to any operator wherever they are on the ground.
Now, just to say that even if it's not me that necessarily wants to join up because for some reason, I have still a very good connection to operators that I personally myself work with, and I can blue stamp. So in somewhere in Europe, there's several. So reach out if there's any need of it. And again, be prepared traveling to another country. If you are a UK operator or Danish operator going to UK and things like that, even if you are, as many Danish operators are educated in the US or in UK, it's very different when you walk out from the education platform and have to do the work physically on the street with boots on the ground. It's very, very, very different. And you need to put yourself prepared for that at all times.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, thanks very much, Claus, for your time. From John and myself, we're tremendously grateful for you to, give us this window into the Nordics. And of course, for your ongoing support for the BBA Connect app, the NABA app, and the whole community. This has been yet another fantastic edition of the Circuit Magazine podcast. Well, thank you very much, Claus. It is great to have you on. It's great to have your support. I really enjoyed learning about the Nordics or Scandinavia. I know some people prefer one term over the other, but surely there's more pop stars going to Scandinavia or the Nordics. There's more, sporting events. And of course, there are some unique features about, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and to a lesser extent, Finland. What have you taken away, Sean? I know it's quite a high level discussion, but what stood out for you?
I think it's fascinating to listen to people from different areas. And I liked how he was talking about the Nordics and how we discussed everyone speaks English. But one thing he was very, very firm on, you have to show respect to the local culture when you're out there visiting, and that's something wherever you travel, you should always do your homework on where you're visiting, do your homework on the local customs, and a lot of the security there can be armed, very different to the UK. Very interesting indeed.
Indeed, and whilst of course some of the Nordics is in the European Union, and some is not, if you include Iceland and Norway. There are some harmonized regulations, and there are some subtle differences. And I think just as we sort of alluded to, armed and unarmed operatives will create a world of difference when you are rubbing shoulders with another team, because you have no idea what kind of regulations that they are following, especially if you go on a tour throughout the Nordics. But I certainly want to go there. I know, of course, it's very expensive in some of the countries, but I think this will be perfect. But aside from that, I do want to say it was lovely to see Claus. He came over in person to one of our UK events just the other month. I was giving a talk, so it was very nice for him to come and see me. And I know he's frequently in the UK for all of our listeners to make friends with. And of course, we know that he is an OG expert in the industry, and he will have got a lot of friends in our listenership who will remember him from his beginnings to today. Obviously, it is a big journey, but one that we like to celebrate. What else have we got coming up, Sean?
We have the next edition of the Circuit magazine coming up, which should be hitting the shelves or your podcast, your app store pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got some great contributors in there again. And I think we might have to drag Claus in to write us an article in one of the upcoming issues as well, because I love how active he is on the community, and I love the pictures that he shares, sharing his old memories of previous tasks. So I'm sure he's got a story or two that he can contribute to the magazine for sure.
That's right, because of course Claus is very active in the NABA Protector app as well as the BBA Connect app. So thanks very much for keeping the momentum going. one thing I'd like to share on the 9th of June, our membership is, of course, very welcome at the 6th Annual Cyber Physical Convergence Forum in London. It is an online event throughout the day. However, there's a reception by the monument. So you'll see details of that going out for your complimentary ticket as members. And discounted if you're in the wider community. But that means that you can come along to a nice drinks reception with your peers and corporate security professionals by the monument on the 9th of June. So please do look out for that. Very excited to see you all. I know, of course, we spoke about this before, but last week we met Tim Wenzel in London, and it's just nice to see the community coming together again and meeting old and familiar faces. I think people are well up for it, and I guess what I'm saying is you're very welcome. And Klaus, you're very welcome too. So thanks very much again to Klaus. Keep all those comments coming. And, if anyone is a role model member of the BBA community and the NABA community, it is Klaus. So from Sean and myself, this has been another fantastic edition of the Circuit Magazine podcast.
You have been listening to the Circuit Magazine podcast. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to not miss an episode.